Hello, everyone, and hello to those who are watching online. So this meetup will be in English because we are both online and offline, and it's live. So this first meetup takes place into the workshop organized by Twist Digital and supported by the European Commission and Startup Europe. So I'm just going to introduce myself briefly so you understand where I come from the lean startup perspective. So I've co-founded Mobileangelo, which is a startup that aims to fix your iPhones and iPads everywhere. I'm currently the COO, which means that I'm in charge of the operations. So I manage the technical team and the marketing. And I've co-founded Productize, which is a very young project, 2 weeks old. And basically, it's a monthly workshop about product management for big companies. So who knows about lean startups in the room? OK, so basically, I won't teach you what is lean startup in depth. For that, you have 2 great books. The Lean Startup, written by Eric Ries, and Running Lean, written by Ash Moria. The books are very different. This is basically the manifesto and the vision about lean startups. So this book explains the theory where Eric Ries come from and why he invented this framework and the vision he has for post-industrial era for United States and for the world, basically. And Running Lean is a more practical guide about how to implement lean startup principles from the idea to something that works. This is the subtitle. It's from plane A to a plane that works, because basically it says that whatever your idea is going to change. And this book teaches you how to manage the various changes you will face. So both books are very, very interesting. But the Running Lean is more practical, and it's written it has been translated in French for those of you who are in the room. My personal background in lean startups, so I first discovered the book from my workmates. I was in my office, and he put the book on my office, said, you should read that. And before that, I had failed 2 startups, so he thought it might be helpful, and it was helpful. Rather, a few months ago, I think 2 months ago, there was a kind of workshop organized by a US team called Lean Startup Machine. It's a lean startup workshop run everywhere in the world, in many, many cities. And basically, you gather during 48 hours with many teams, and you try to practice lean startup principles. You try to validate your idea on the market. So you go out in the streets and you validate your idea. And this is where I first practiced lean startup. And since then I animated various workshops, meetups about lean startups in Paris, in Lille, and I also the French copy proofreader of Running Lean in French. So I've checked that it was properly translated. Okay, so this is the typical, mythical, I would say, growth curve of a startup. So just to go quickly, you have the exploration phase where nothing happened, basically. Actually, it happened a lot of things, but from the revenue perspective, nothing happens. You don't make any money. You don't make any progress, financially speaking. And then you have this magic moment, which is called the product market fit. This is where your idea, your product meets an actual demand on the market. So this is the idea of being visionary when you create a startup. When you are here and you have your idea, nobody trusts you. Nobody thinks it's a good idea. It's only there that people are going to trust you. So you have to work, you have to explore a lot of things. You have to stay long enough alive on the market until the market is ready for your product or until you adapt your product to the market. The whole idea of lean startup is to adapt your product your product all the time to match the market. And then if you are lucky enough, if you are on a growing market, then you will have a rapid growth if you have the funds, if you have enough money to compete on the market, to invest a lot of cash in marketing, in technology. This is the typical curve for a technological startup, not a web agency. Okay, so it's really important. Rapid growth happens when you can scale, which means that you can invest for $1, you get $10, basically. Okay. So yes, this is the typical startup, and just to give you an idea, my first two ventures, Kivau and Advertory, were two startups, and they failed quite quickly in this curve, which is the exploration phase. Why am I saying that I failed? I have to stop these companies. The first one with 30K invested in cash with my money and my associates' money. And we stopped about 8 months, 9 months, because we didn't have any money left and we had to take our job back. So we spent 8 months basically writing a business plan. So obviously that does not work. So we over-planified, we over-engineered our startup. We wrote a blog, we started a small community, we wrote a small platform that was a kind of MVP, kind of prototype of our product, but we never faced the market. We never talked to one customer. We talked to partners, we talked to investors, we talked to journalists, but we never talked to customers.
What was the startup about?
It was a home exchange. So basically it's like Airbnb, but for free. And there was a business model beyond that, because one startup today raised 2 million a few months ago. So there is a business model beyond that. The second one, Advertory, I was not the co-founder. I joined the company after I helped the company to start as a freelancer. Again, we raised a lot of money, but we failed to have a common strategy with me and my associates, because we didn't have the same vision. We didn't talk to any customers, and basically it was a local marketing platform for small businesses. We thought we would sell it 50 euros a month, and actually after we raised the money, we talked to the customers and we realized they were almost ready to pay €0 per month. So it changed slightly the plan. And it did not work. And now, Mobile Angelo, so we raised a nice amount of money just after 9 months. To be honest, we started the discussion just 4 months after the initial launch. So it took us 6 months to actually get the money. But we, as I'm going to show you, we did not invested absolutely the same amount of money and the same effort. For the first one, no customer contact, 30K in money, 3 people, and we are full-time on the project. For Advertory, the second one, 1 year before we talked to a customer. So we built all technology before that. We invested a considerable amount of money to build the technology, but we didn't talk to any customers. Nice amount of money, 3 people, the founders, and then we hired 4 engineers to work on the product, and progressively from 0 to full-time on the job. And Mobile Angelo, we waited 2 days in order to get in touch with the first customers. I will tell you how. We just invested 400 euros to get that customer feedback. And we are only 2 to 3 people today, and we still are half time on the project. So you see the difference, the different approach, less time to talk to a customer, less money, and a better feedback, and less effort spent to have a better result. So basically, there was 2 ways before Lean Startup to start a startup, of doing the startups. Both of these ways, I'm going to show you, can work. The idea of lean startup is not about these are things of the past. It's about saying, yes, it can work, but it's mostly a matter of luck. Lean startup takes the creation of startup from the scientific angle and try to avoid everything which is luck, being at the right time, at the right place. The first is just do it. Really, I mean, it works. I mean, these some companies because I'm working with a lot of startups. You have startups. Startups that raise 2 million euros just on a slide deck. It still exists. You still have startups that can do that, and the plan is we just do it. This is quite frequent when you are not the first player, when you are following a startup that already exists and that have proven for you that the concept is working. So basically, if someone would compete in Mobile Angelo today, they have seen we have raised some money, so they will say we are going to raise the double and we are going to be faster, and we are just going to copy them. This can work. It can work, but it's a matter of execution. It's a matter of hiring the right skill, and it's a matter of having a lot of money. The second approach is over-engineer your startup. So this is what I've done on the first one. Basically, you spend 6 months making a business plan, and you plan your startup for the next 3 to 5 years, and it looks pretty in the spreadsheet. This can work, again, especially if you are on a very, very complex market where you have to validate a lot of things, you have to contract with a lot of people, you have to secure a lot of things before building the product. This can work, but again, it's mostly a matter of chance and being at the right time, at the right place. So Lean Startup propose a different approach. It's about experimenting as fast as you can until you find a viable model. So basically, if you start your working on your idea, the first things you have to ask yourself is, how many money do I have until I have to stop the company? Whether it's 10,000 euros, 1 million euros, 500 euros, it's not important. You say, okay, I have 10,000 euros, I have 6 months to prove something. Now, what can I do to maximize the number of experiments I can do in order to find a viable model? This is the basic idea. So the good approach is you're not building a big ship, a big boat in order to go to the place you want to go. It's about building a vehicle, which is your startup, that will be able to turn easily on the right, on the left, if you have an obstacle, if you have a new competitor, if you are not securing your money fast enough. So you need to have a flexible vehicle to drive along the way. This is the idea. So this is about steering, which is driving a vehicle, but not a boat. It's more like a rally car. Another approach I've been tested on Mobile Angelo is the idea of the multi-stage rocket. So basically, what does it mean? When you see that, your real product, it's here. It's the satellite. It's not the whole. How do you call that? Rocket. But you do need the first level, the second level, and the third level in order to put your satellite around the globe. So the idea is that you are going to start to build something that is not your real product. And based on that, you are going to drop your first product and start another product. And then you will drop that product and start another product. So this is the idea I've tried to do, for instance, for my first company, Kivau. We thought that we wanted to be the one place to find all the location you can go for free in the world. But before that, we said we are going to build a community of people interested into this topic. So we invested some time in building a blog, so writing content, connecting with journalists, connecting with ambassadors, And we thought that based on that community, we would be able to launch a product. So this is something that many people do, even in Eurotech today. When you build a community-driven product, this is a good idea to first build a community. Don't care about the product, don't care about the technology. But after that, you know that we are going to, I would say, let down progressively your first asset. And this can work. This can work because building a community doesn't require a lot of money. You can start a blog right now. Building a product, if you're not a technical guy, it's very more complicated. This is how you can see the idea of experimenting stuff until you find the right idea. So in this slide, what you see is that at the beginning, you are in the red, which is you don't create any value. So this is the 0, basically. You don't create any value. You even wasting your time and the time of your investors and users. But then you try something new, and then you realize that this is not working. So you step back, and you try something else. And by trial and error, you find something that do eventually work. But you might get stuck here until, and you might not have enough cash in order to continue or even to step back and to try something else. Sometimes you go from a very bad idea to something that works. It's very rare, but it can work. So you must not be afraid of trying stuff. At Multistage, we try new stuff every day, and we see if it works or not. So just to debunk a few false ideas about Lean Startup for the people, for some of you who have heard about it. Lean Startup is not about talking to clients. Some people will say, yeah, Lean Startup is just about getting out of the building, talking to people, checking the idea, and if the people say it's a bad idea, then it's a bad idea. If it's a good idea, then you think it's a good idea. It's much more complicated than that. You are not going to ask for people for what they think about your product. You are going to validate a few things by talking to them, but it's not the only part of Lean Startup. It's not also about building what we call an MVP, which is the minimum viable product. Again, some people make the confusion between MVP and prototype. Prototype is the first version of your product that eventually you are going to drop to build a real product. The MVP is a real product. It's the first things you are going to expose to your clients and that your clients are going to use for real. The first MVP of Multistage was just a WordPress blog with a form that will ask people, you have an issue with your mobile, just fill the form, contact us, and we're going to find a solution. And the thing was working, and people could have their iPhone fixed by filling the form. So it was the first MVP. Then we released the first version of the site back a year ago, and we almost didn't touch it for 1 year. It's still live. It's not about being cheap. This is very important, especially in Europe, because Lean Startup comes from the United States, where it's very easy to get funded with $200,000 very easily. You get that money from investors because there's a lot of investors. So you can have a reasonable amount of money to experiment. With this money, you can hire a team. You can hire 5 people working for 6 months on the marketing, on the tech. So it's kind of convenient. In Europe, you cannot do that, not that easily. So don't think that being lean is for the people who don't have money. It's the total opposite. If you have money, you can be lean because you can do a lot of experimentations. And it's certainly not about ignoring common business sense. You don't have to stay in your office and just focus on your product. And it's really about connecting with people, connecting with partners, talking a lot about your ideas, and making a reasonable business calcul. Again, it won't work. This is what I've learned based on the different startups I've followed and the one I've created. It won't work if your associates and all the founders are not in the idea of being lean. It's very, very difficult because being lean, if you follow the lean startup methodology, it's really about mathematics, science, being very, very rigorous about what you do and what you do not do. It's almost counterintuitive for a seasoned entrepreneur. If your associate has built, I don't know, 2 other startups before that, or even a company that was successful, he won't buy in lean startups. He won't do it. He will just say to you, we just have to do it. We just have to talk to this guy. We just have to accept that money. If you are the only one in the company who trusts, who believes in the lean startups approach, it won't work. It won't work also if you're alone. Again, you need money to hire people to work for you, or you need money to subcontract your product or multiple versions of the product. So you cannot do it alone, and you cannot do it if you have no money. But with the money you have, you can do many things. You won't be able to do that too much things if you have not too much money, but still you can do some things. So how can you apply lean startups? Different steps. The first steps is about validating the idea. The second step is about the execution team, understand the process you are going to improve with your startups, building the technology you just need. The just is important. We will see that later. And then it's about scaling. The first thing is validating your idea. There is one book, one method to follow. It works. It's great. It's the method from Ash Maurya. Outside of being a great guy, he has spent a lot of time on this book, on this method, and believe me, it works. So if you want to test an idea, just grab the book and study the methodology. So it's about running lean and the lean canvas. The second is about setting up the executive team. So who is going to drive the efforts? Who is going to run the startups the lean way? My personal history say that you have both to be experienced entrepreneurs, but also still hands-on. Why? Because if you are not able to experiment quickly change quickly things on your website, in the internal processes, you are going to lose a lot of time asking your contractor, asking people to change things on the website, asking people to change things on the advertisement platform. So you have to understand the things, and you have to be able to change them yourself. And you still have to be experienced in order to not do the same mistakes again that you may have done in your previous startups. This is I would say, the perfect executive team, because if you're not experienced, you are going to make mistakes. And if you are not hands-on, you will lose a lot of time. So if you have the both, it's the perfect solution. Something we tend to forget also, creating a startup is about solving a problem, and solving a problem that exists, not a problem you want to exist because you have the perfect solution. So you have to discover what you are going to fix, and you have to perfectly understand what you are going to fix. And it's really like a diagram like that. You have to spot every steps, every actors in the ecosystem that are being involved into your idea. For instance, for Mobile Angelo, it's not only about mobile repairer and iPhone owners. It's about insurances. It's about manufacturers. It's about the people who buy iPhone parts in China and bring them in France. It's about operators. It's about all these people. And so you need to understand that. You need to understand all the actors and what are the relations between each other in order to find where you are acting and what you are going to fix. And what you are going to fix has to be 10 times better or 10 times faster than the actual solution, not below. So it's easy to say that, but you have to find the 10 times factor. If you just improve things slightly, you are not running after a disruptive innovation. You are running after a small increment small improvements, and people won't buy your solution. So you need to find something very, very important to fix, and you have to modelize it. After that, once you have modelized it, you build the technology you just need, which means you don't have to build a whole platform like we did in my second startup before contacting the customers. For instance, the platform I've built was able to send SMS, emailing, post on the Twitter wall of our customers, collect the comments on the various community platforms like Yelp or Yellow Pages, etc. This was, of course, too much. What people wanted at the end, and we realized it, I just want to be visible on Google. Okay, so we did not have to build all these things in order to get success, but it was too late. So once you have modelized your process, replace in the processes the things that would help to make the process 10 times faster. So in our case, I will tell you that we still use Google Spreadsheet as our back office. We did not build a back office, but we build the pieces that make this back office fully automated. So basically, we program Google Spreadsheet in order to drive our activity. And it cost us probably 10 times less than building the whole things. And today, it still works. We still operate more than 100 repairers with Google Spreadsheet. But we automated the things around. We use, of course, a platform to send SMSs. We didn't program the platform that send SMSs. And I did not represent all tools which we call commodities in the Lean Startup vocabulary. I did not written all the commodities we use, but it's like maybe 15 or 20 external platforms. We pay monthly to build our system. And we build the code progressively as we need it, as we need to own the code. There is also another aspect of owning the technology, of course, it's intellectual property. If you write the code, it's your code, it has a value. If you build only your platform based on commodities, it was nothing, of course. So be careful of where is the value of your company. If the value is the code, is the intellectual property, of course, you need to write code. But if it's not, then you can use commodities and you need to build the technology just when you need it. When is the time when you need it? Is this whole process that your company is supposed to support. You can do it manually, and you have to do it manually. Because if you don't do it manually, you don't understand the process. You are not in touch with the customers. You are not in touch with the different problems. As soon as you have understood the real problem and what needs to be fixed, then you replace it with a commodity or with code. But you need to do it manually. And the right time is when you cannot do it anymore. For instance, managing a demand of repair used to take us 30 minutes per demand. Today, we could not do it manually. So progressively, we replaced it by technology. But at the beginning, we did it manually. My first MVP back in December 2013, just the WordPress blog with the form. When the people fill the form, I would call the customer, ask what was our issue. I would call a repairer, say, are you okay to take this client? And then I would put them in touch, 30 minutes. Today, it's fully automated. About scaling. So scaling is about when you have discovered the product market fit, and it is where you can invest heavily in technology in order to scale, both in marketing and technology-wise. So do things that don't scale at first. Again, like I said, you need to perfectly understand the problem you are going to fix. It's very important. And you do it as long as it's possible. I'm going to give you a concrete example. We think about putting payment online since the beginning. So pay before you get your iPhone fixed. We don't do it because actually we don't need it, because we get paid after. And today it works, we get paid. So until we don't get paid, I mean, maybe with the number of customers growing, we might reach a stage where people stop to pay, or at least 5% of our customers don't pay eventually. So this will be an issue at this moment. But today, it's not a problem. So we don't implement the payment online. So as long as it's possible, we try to postpone investment in technology. Yeah, you build the technology that relieve immediate pain in your process, in your day-to-day processes. Okay, so that was short, but I didn't want to be too theoretical. So if you have any questions, this is the moment to share and to exchange on your issues and the different experience you have. And for the people who are online, you can tweet with this hashtag, and I will get the questions eventually. Yes, it does. Even if it has been written by an engineer, the idea is to validate every aspect of the startups. And many of these aspects are communication and marketing, which is which channel is the best for my startup? Where do I acquire my customers? So you can, there's an excellent book about that, which is called Traction, which is about how you validate the 20-ish channels you have at your disposal when you are a digital company. And there is a methodology for that. And it's great. But again, you need money and you need people to run these experiments. If you don't have this, you just do what is easy, which is AdWords, Facebook ads, flyers in the streets, but you have 17 other channels to activate and to test. So there is a method for that.
So do you mean that you have to hire really quickly, or just if the 2 or 3 is fine and you hire only when you really need, you have to hire now for communication marketing if you have the money?
The idea, yes, if you want to be lean, you better make sure you have enough money to recruit some people and to help you to do that. Yes. This is the best way to implement lean startup methodology. If you don't have money, if you don't have people, I would say don't do it unless you are sure you have money fast enough. Because you are going just to try maybe or to spend too much effort on one channel and one things to test, and it might be not the right one. So you better go on the just do it or Overengineer. That actually you may have less chances, but it might work. How many of you are working on the ID at the moment? Okay. And are you alone? Who is alone on this project? Okay. So are you in the mindset of understanding how much money you have and how much time you have in order to test your ID? Or are you just trying to start a company? Are you kind of pragmatic about the ID? For example, you?
Yes, I'm more on the idea of trying the ID, and I know what is a lean startup, so I'm trying to, what you said before, maybe create a community first, and ask this community to improve my ID and see if it was a good idea or not.
Okay. So in this kind of company, so for any of you who are starting an ID, there's 2 figures to know before you even start is how much time do I have? Because you might have a time constraint. And how much money do I have? They might be different because you might have enough money to not work for 12 months, but you can have also 12 months paid by someone like Pôle emploi or and money on the side. So it's different, but you have to have these 2 figures in mind. How many do I have in money and in time? That's the 2 first figures you need to figure out. And then about the community aspect, you have to see the community as an asset. So basically, you say, okay, I've got 6 months to build a community. This community should be about 15,000 users by 6 months. You need to fix your objectives. Because at the end of the 6 months, you might not have enough time or not enough money because you ran out of cash, but still you have an asset of 15,000 people, and that's worth something. And with that, you can maybe find money or find a new idea. So it's still worth building something, but in the idea of creating an asset, not about just creating a community for that, but it's an asset. Yes?
You said you were invested half time
Yes.
in a startup. What about this choice?
Because I decided, it's a learning lesson on my second startup. I thought I could pay myself on the startup. And it was a kind of misunderstanding with my associate. And it's a big misunderstanding because when you ask for a salary, it costs a lot of money, especially in France, because you basically have to double what you get at the end. And I don't think it's reasonable for a company to support this cost at the beginning. So I decided, as I was a consultant before that, I decided to continue my activity in order to live beside my company, in order to not ask my startup to support the cost.
You've been insisting on how important it was to have money to apply the lean method, but what if it's like a couple, I don't know, like 20,000 is supposed to be like enough, or is it like supposed to be based on the American model with like 200,000 euros to be what you're calling enough money?
I would say that enough money is enough money to have a team of 3 to 4 people working for 6 months, minimum. So you make the math.
Except if you manage to find them
for free.
Yeah.
But still you need but still you need money to invest in advertising platforms, in softwares, in graphical design, all this stuff that costs, especially in marketing. So even if you have people working for free, you still need to spend a lot of money in things that are not free anymore. When I say anymore, like AdWords used to be cheap.
Yeah.
It's not anymore. Facebook is still kind of interesting, but the price are leveling up. So still you have need a lot of cash to spend on marketing. Yes?
Before you said you had, you took 1 month, you said, okay, 1 month, and if I unmanage and just stop. But on this month, you were looking for a partner, or you were just looking to work on the idea and see some proof in the market or test some new products?
The real story behind Mobile Angelo, when I started with someone, with a friend of mine. He was also a consultant, like me, and we just wanted a recurring source of revenue. And said, yeah, we want to make 10,000 euros a month to share between the two of us. So let's find a business to do that. So this is the idea. And so we just take any idea, and I just brought my iPhone, so let's do iPhone fixing. That's it. And then I liked the ecosystem, and I thought there would be something to make. But not my associate, he left. And then I run the idea alone until I find my actual partner.
So you were continuing alone?
Yes, but
be alone, but you were like hoping.
But also, but because I was incubated here in Eurotechnology, so I could not say to Eurotechnology, okay, guys, I leave. So I had like a commitment, and this what kept me doing that. It's because I had a commitment.
So you said you went to see your first customers to test your idea after 2 days. So you developed WordPress.
Yeah, well, actually, I did not develop anything. I just set up a WordPress.
Were those people you knew and they knew about the project, or you just like send it out on the web?
Like real customers, I buy ads on AdWords. The site was very ugly. but I would say less ugly than my professional competitors. So it was still added value in that. And I was very surprised that people would fill the form and say, yeah, I have iPhone to be fixed. So they were real customers. This is very important. If you try your idea, your product with friends, you won't have, and this is the mistake I've made with the second startup, the local marketing one. We had people in our network who were independent local business. And we asked them to try, and we asked them, would you pay for that, etc. I say, yes, I would pay, but when it has to the moment where you have to pay, they will not pay, or they will not respond, they will not answer your call. They were too busy, so they were not real customers.
So what is the difference when you say talking to customers and validate?
Yeah, because when people say it's just about talking to customers, they think it's just about asking if your idea is a good idea. So this is not about that. When you talk to the customers in the lean way, you don't really talk to them about your product. You talk to them to understand their issues. You are more in a open questions kind of interviews. You are not asking them, you are not basically sending them a survey. You're not asking, would you use this kind of stuff? Would you pay 50 euros a month? You don't do this kind of stuff. You talk to them, you understand your issues, and you might discover other issues that you didn't think about. And you might think that the idea you had is not relevant anymore, but you don't ask confirmation from your customers, you observe it.
On the issue side,
yeah.
Do you concretely observe them using your tool or your solution?
There's many ways of doing that, but the best way is to run customer interviews. And you have two kinds of interviews, the problem interviews and the solution interviews. And the solution interviews is run on the people you have selected based on the problem interviews. So basically you interview 100 people in the interview problem. You will get maybe 5 or 6 people that are really interested. You think they will be interested by your solution. A few months later, you go back to them, you talk to them, and you expose your solution. So it's a way to filter what we call the early adopters of your solution, the people who really need what you are building. Yes?
How do you do at the very beginning? Because I think you have to register somewhere. When is the right moment to register? What does it cost?
Well, it depends on what you want to validate. For instance, in Mobile Angelo, I wanted to validate that independent iPhone repairers would pay 5 euros a lead I would send them, a new customer would send them. This is what I wanted to validate. So for that, I just needed customers, and I just needed a way to make them pay. And actually, I never collected the money. So they just say to me, yeah, I would pay for that. I send them the customers, and then I get the feedback from the customers. So was it a good experience? Did you like it? Would you recommend it, etc. But I never really collected the money. I didn't care about that.
But I mean, for the stage, for example, I said, do you have to register for entrepreneurs?
Oh, for the status? No, actually, even for Mobile Angelo, we registered about 3 months after we start the activity. So it's like, you know, it's like the story of Google. Google incorporated just because they need to put a check in the bank. They have an investor with 200,000 euros, dollars. They just need to get the money, so they had to incorporate. Basically, this is what we've done. We incorporated because we needed to.
So your last question? Yes. Is there a tool to manage user feedback, to aggregate user feedback, or should we use a Google Sheet?
I never use tools. Tools, again, you use tool when you cannot do it anymore manually. So until you can do it manually, do it manually.